Adding a bolster. For bolsters I use pig liner. It's a fairly firm pig hide, and yet it's soft enough that it'll fill in all of the cracks and depressions in the belly braid. The hallmark of a good whip is a solid core. This helps to achieve that, and yet it's thin enough that it doesn't add bulk to the whip, and it's still fairly light. I'm going to glue the top ½ inch or so of it because I want the heel end to be as firm and strong as possible. So there. I'm just going to glue it up. And use a rubber band to hold it temporarily. Necessary? No, not really, but then again, I'm OCD, so I want to do the best I can to make it a secure whip, strong whip. There's going to be overlap on the bolster. That's not an issue. It never has been. But if something like that really bothers you and you want to make it as perfect as possible, simply skive the edges down to a feather edge, and the overlap won't even be noticeable. A slight overlap on the bolster is not going to affect how the whip performs or looks. It's not going to affect appearance at all. Once you get the overlay platted on tightly, next I'm going to grease it up. Regular plating soap, homemade. It's all I've ever used. I even use this for conditioning my own whips. It works just fine, and it's cheap. I'm going to grease up or condition the braid. You know, some people say, well, if you're a professional, then you don't really need to do anything else. You just start braiding over the bolster. Yeah, okay, maybe true, maybe not. I don't know. Again, I'm OCD. I have arthritis. And I'd rather have everything in place so I don't have a whole lot to deal with when I'm trying to plait the overlay. It's enough that I'm doing patterns and things that are distracting as hell, and I need my entire concentration on that. We're going to take upholstery thread, quite a bit stronger than regular thread. It's not bound to break unless you really pull on it very, very hard, but it'll do the job. I'm going to hold the bolster from underneath, set the overlap with my thumb there, and then I'm going to use my fingers to wind the thread over. Just to tack it into place, so I don't have to mess with it when I'm trying to braid the overlay. I'm going to wind down all the way to the point. The overlay, or the overlap, always goes in the same direction. If you change direction, you will get a lump there that'll be unsightly. So make sure that the overlap goes in the same direction all the way down the whip. And once you've done this a few hundred times, it's just second nature. You do it without even thinking. When I'm braiding the overlay, I make sure that the seam of the bolster is down underneath the whip. Therefore, when I'm plaiting really tightly, it actually draws the bolster tight instead of opening it up like it would if the seam were on the top end like it is now. It's only on the top end now so that I can actually tack it on and see what I'm doing with the seam. When I reach the point of the whip, I'm going to throw a couple of half hitches into the thread. To tack it in place, and then I'm going to wind back up the core. When I reach the top, I'll take it out of the vise, remove the rubber band. A little difficult when your hands are all greasy, but it can be done. And I'm going to finish winding it over. Now, rather than struggle with a bunch of knots up here, I'm simply going to loop it over my thumb. Throw it over the end, and I've got a half hitch. I'm going to do that several times. See if you can get it a little closer there, right there, okay? Over my thumb, throw it over, and draw it tight. Once I've got 4 or 5 of those, it's not going anywhere. And once I've got the overlay platter over it, it's definitely not going anywhere. So we'll just clip that off. And there you have bolster.